extra drops of water with a simple kitchen towel. I'm going to try to make this as easy as possible. It does look a little complex, but it's really easy, believe me. Okay, so I have taken white here in two different parts. And first thing I'm going to do is mix the pink and then the blue. So pink and blue make the purples. So I'm going to tell you to take the proportion as a 1 piece of green pea. So that is the ratio. You can always have a reference with the quantity of colors, I mean. I'm taking 3 parts of pink here, 1 part a little away from choose, and 1 blue along with the pink here. So 2, 3, and 4. And to mix the colors, the mixing knife is always helpful. So first, pinks, I'm mixing with white. And this is making a fabulous light pink color here. It's a light shade, but not as light as we want. I'm going to keep the paints on this surface because I need this knife to mix a little more white in half portion of the light pink that we made. So basically I'm making two different shades of pink. This is really light baby pink color. You're going to need this for the horizon. You see the light, the sunlight area here? So this is what is going to make that portion. Now for the first shade, I'm going to wet my 6 number Filbert brush a little bit, and I'm going to grab kitchen towel again to wipe it off because I cannot have more water in the brush. It ruins the color basically. All it needs the bristles to get a little wet, that's it. And just enjoy this fantabulous medium. It is such fun to paint this. If you have females in your family, this is going to be their colors. You're going to have fun with these colors. So I'm right now using the light pink. There was some dark pink already on my canvas. I put that color with my knife. So you have to go all the way through the 1/2 portion of the canvas. And you might want to use a bigger brush to make this process a little faster. I'm pretty much enjoying the shades because I'm painting this for the first time. It will be a great opportunity if you can also bring your supplies and paint along with me, just like we do in a practical workshop. Otherwise, you can always follow this video and just do the painting in your leisure time. Anything that suits you most. Now it's time for me to take a little darker shade of pink on the upper side of this canvas. So it doesn't make much of a difference as of now because you see the darker shade here, and just leave the strokes as they are. You do not have to make it blend a lot in the lighter shade. It gives a little dramatic look of winter skies and clouds and the light that works in the atmosphere. So I'm just leaving this shade as it is. I know you can have your own version because after all, it's your masterpiece. So right now, focusing only on light pink and trying to cover the white canvas all over the surface. The most important thing you must remember is to go back and forth and not horizontally, unless you have any specific cloud effect in your mind. You might want to make some cloudy effect here and there. So make sure that you try to make it as realistic as you want. I'm a realistic landscape painter, so I try to teach my students the most realistic ones that we see out in the outer world. But you can always have your own version. So I think we are almost done with the 2/3 portion of this canvas here. And now it's time for us to bring the blue in it. Basically the purple one. So I'm going to mix the pink and the blue here, which makes the darkest shade of purple. And I'm going to pour half of this color in here and bringing white into it. I will keep adding white until I feel that this is the perfect shade as I see in the painting, in the photograph. So I think this one is a nice color to me. It's not pretty dark. The sky has a lot of light. So this is a pretty purple color with me. And I'm not going to wash this brush because this is anyway going to merge. So I'm taking the purple and now it's time for me to have a look in the reference picture and work on the top of this canvas. As you can see, the light pink is making a good background for the purple to merge. So we are basically going to get an ombre effect here, which is so beautiful when it dries. You're gonna love this one. And it also blends the extra color on the surface so well with the previous tone. So now, some of the purple strokes, and then the pink is blending super well with this. If you are not planning to frame this painting, you can always paint the sides of your canvas, which I usually do. So it looks a complete piece of work when you are done. It's ready to hang on your wall, decor your room. So just a couple of minutes to surface paint this. I'll take a little bit of paint and just show you how it works. So the same colors that you painted on that canvas surface, you must get the closest shade in your brush and just try a thin layer of paint, a quick layer here. So we do not have to frame this unless we want to. So this is a nice trick many artists, my fellow artists and students use for their paintings too. And it is just okay if it doesn't match this surface as well. You can always blend the extra shade here and there. The best thing about paintings is it just makes you stress-free. So there is no compulsion, there is no rule that you must do this or that. I have a little purple in my brush still here. I'm going to wipe it off here. I want that in my in the background of those trees. If you see here, it's going to look a little bit blended purple and pink. So it's okay if that color is still there in your brush. So now if you see, we're almost done with the top area. But since it's wet, it's gonna look a little different than what we see here. I think I need to put a little more darker shades on the topmost area. So I'm taking the mixed color. I am bringing this color into the purple, the light purple that we made. And this basically gives me a little darker shade of the previous color. So for the top, a little darker shade of purple to be added. Just a few strokes, just a few strokes. We don't want it to come all the way down, all the way down. Just a little bit difference, just more surface to this sky. And I'm blending this on my surface. I know the upper surface is hardly visible when we hang this, but yet, perfection. I'm so enjoying these shades. I love these shades. Hey, Uma, you know what? I can do this painting tutorial once again if you want.
Oh yeah, that's nice.
Oh, yes. Let me know if you guys tried any of the painting tutorials and made any of your masterpiece. I would love to hear from you guys. So now if you see, we see the snow and the trees here. So it calls for a little reflection. The surface that is on the sky is reflecting slightly over the snow. The snow is anyway translucent and reflective surface. So I'm going to put a little purple on my brush. I'm taking the same darker shade of purple on a little side here. And I'm going to add some white for the 1/3 portion that is still white on the canvas. And this is going to demand a little bit of blue. So I'm going to take just a half green pea size of the blue here. It's a very dark color. So if you take more, you will end up making more shades, which you may not need in near future. So just make sure that you make small proportions initially. And if you want, you can always make it again. Because anyways, we are using few colors in our painting palette. If the paintings are really complex, like portrait and stuff, then making more colors is more ideal. Because you cannot sometimes make the same shades. And it is great if you have them on your palette. Makes your work real easy. So this is a little more bluish as compared to this one, if you see. And I don't know if the colors are so reflective. Can you see the difference? Uma, can you confirm if you can differentiate between these two shades?
Yeah, of course. Of course.
All I wanted to emphasize was this one is going to be a little more bluish as compared to the upper one. You can have your way of blending the colors. So when you put the other details, it is definitely going to look like a landscape. So it's okay if you don't do exactly what the image says, but I'm trying to do it the way I like it. So I think the base coat is almost there. We are almost there to finish the base coat here. Normally, the landscape, ideally, the painting artists, they follow the simple rules that the sky and the land, they have to be in 3 different parts. If it is painted that way, it looks a very balanced design. It actually gives the eye a good composition. If I take this one in the exact center, it is going to look good. But in a photography sense, and the composition that a human eye finds more beautiful and appealing, it won't be that good as we divide it into 2/3 and a 1/3. If your brush is feeling a little dry, you can always dip a little bit in the water and just blend 2 different paints on the surface. I'm going to make this canvas a little upside down so I can work on the bottom of this painting pretty easy, leaving no traces on my wall. If I were working on an easel, it makes it even faster. So I'm taking all the paint that's on my palette. I'm basically finishing the bluish purple. And I think this is good for us to get dry. We can chit chat for a few minutes because working on the wet surface will not be ideal. So I would be happy to have you a little quick question answers, if any, until this one gets dry. Regarding the supplies, I usually get my supplies from Michael's. I use the Academy paints. They are the level 2 paints. And Art Loft is also a good company. Liquitex is one of the best color making company as well. But I'm pretty familiar with these colors because I worked in Michael's and I was so used to blending these shades. So they give me exactly what I had imagined. But you can always have the supplies as you like and as you find more comfortable with. So here we are. I'm just trying to make the white canvas disappear and use the colors that I have still left on my palette. So it's a good blend of light blue, purple, pink, and a little darker pink here. So we have, now if you see, this is the light source. It looks like the sun has set somewhere and it is still throwing the lights. So I'm going to use my white color without washing my brush. And this is going to be here, exactly on the center of my canvas. So if you see, if you take a reference picture, it shows me somewhere in here. So we have a variant in the shades now. And since I have purple and pinks already in my brush, it is going to make the pure white turn into a blended shade of purples and pinks. It is not a pure white anymore. And it does give you an illusion of some light coming through the surface. It has a little cloudy effect here. So if you can just give a little curve, I'm going to take the brush a little on upper side and I'm going to make it a little misty, a little more dissolved. So I'm basically doing the circle motion with my brush. And this is giving me a nice blend of light white color and the effect of clouds here, as you see in the reference picture. So once you're done with this, it's going to take a little while. I'm just going on the upper side of my painting so it blends well with the previous shades here, leaving nice soft traces of cloud and light. It is always fun to play with colors. So here we have somewhat like the reference picture shows us. Taking a little more white to make this area a little more light and more prominent. So I'm taking the strokes. I'm making actual curves that I see in the paint, in the reference picture. Taking some more white and trying to make this line more dense in the painting. So this time I'm taking just white. My paintbrush has the previous colors in it and it is still blending them. So if you see, this has become a little lighter than before. This is very important to know. The light source, which creates the lighter tones, shadows, and medium tones. So every time you paint a painting or picture or anything, make sure that your light shades and the source of light is pretty clear in your mind. If you fail to understand where is the light source, it is going to make the shadows in a different direction, which might not make it look like realistic painting. But if you're working on an abstract, which has nothing to do with reality, you're all sorted. Would you like me to go ahead, or you want us to have a little 5 minutes break for this thing to dry and quick question answers?
It's up to you, Shweta. I don't know if you need some time to dry that one, and then maybe they can have, if they have any questions, I will see the chat box and let you know.
Okay.
And if you want to wait and, no, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, please read them on my behalf because my screen is pretty far.
Okay, your audio is a little bit low now.
Oh,
Okay, now it's okay. I don't know why suddenly.
okay.
Okay,
Am I audible now?
it's good now.
All right, thank you. Okay,
I don't see any questions in the chat box.
okay. No. So I'm going to use this brush, which has a little white in it, and make the surface here. You see, it shows a little road here. I'm going to make some of the places a little purplish, whitish, because it is not a complete plain white. It has grays, it has blue, it has a little purple in it, slight pinks also here and there. My eyes are pretty trained to look.
Okay. Okay, here is one question, Shweta. Do you ever speed drying time with a hair dryer?
No, I don't use an air dryer because it splits the molecules of the paint. Sometimes the paint, it can get cracks if it is really thick. Because we are not giving it a time to dry up, it can make cracks, and you don't want to look at the painting like Mona Lisa, the cracked one. So my style is to just let it stay. It gives a better look when it dries. It is always okay to work on a wet surface, but do not use a hair dryer or anything that can heat it up and make the paint, force the paint to dry fast. We can have time. And this paint are so good, they dry pretty fast. They take just 10 minutes to become a permanent pigmentation. So using a dryer is a big no-no for acrylic paints. It can be used for oil paints because I don't know, I haven't worked in that medium for a long time. But I would recommend, please do not use it. Okay, I'm just moving my brush on the surface with a little bit of water in it. So it basically takes out my white and it gives a little surface to this flat looking lighter shade of purple. I'm just dipping it a little bit, just the tip of this. I took this transparent so you can actually make out how much I'm dipping the brush. It's not all the way down, it's just a little bit. And then I'm coming back to the canvas and just washing it off. The extra shade of white is getting on the surface, canvas surface. This is looking pretty fabulous. Now I have my paintbrush a little dry. I'm keeping it as it is and I'm going to move it here. So this surface, which had pretty clear line, it is going to blend it a little bit. I'm again making small circular motion here, which gives me an illusion of clouds. I'm blending this with that same brush. It is always ideal not to wash the brush if you are working with a very simple layout, a very simple landscape, and the colors are like they are merging into each other. So my advice is do not wash your brush frequently and just enjoy. Be a little lazy about cleaning this time or a change. Okay, so I think we are done with this, and now we will be doing the tree part. So if you see the trees in distance, let me bring this close to you so you can make out. If we see here, the trees look in distance and they do not have leaves. Those are dry trees. The trees with leaves, but the leaves are gone. So I'm going to do them first, and then we will come to the foreground and we will do these Christmas pine trees. And maybe later on we can work on the sugar-coated trees. Looks like icing on cake to me. So for the distance, we are going to use this fourth color in the palette, and this is raw umber. There are different shades of browns. Raw umber is the basic color, and it would help you to make multiple dark shades. To know this color is so much fun. Anything you want dark, you do not mix black in any paintings. Like for me, I'd never use a black color in any of my paintings, even though if it is, I have to make an eye or eyebrow or Indian people with black hair. Raw umber and a few shades of greens and blues, they can actually make the darkest shades of grays or whatever is the requirement. So I recommend this shade, and it is fabulous one. I'm going to have this paint on my palette. I'm going to mix this with pink because it makes a nice purplish brown here. I'm taking it as a 3 green peas proportion, as I told you before. And now this time I'm going to take round brush number 1 as mentioned in the supplies list. So you basically just wet this brush a little bit and then again wipe it off and make a point like this. If you can see it, yes. And now it's our time to take a little look, a deeper look into the painting and try to make the branches and twigs. So I don't see any branches, thick branches here, but the trees look to me like a fan brush. Okay, so I'm going to paint it and I'm going to give you the guidelines how it goes. Basically, you just imagine how many trees it could be, like 1 in the corner and maybe 3 here. Then there's this 1 here and maybe there are 2 in here. So first things first, I start with this one. It's a little bit beneath the pink. So I'm beginning it here. And then I will do a little bit here because I'm going to overlap the foreground trees on it. So I'm assuming that this is the height of the tree. And you have to make the lines pretty light. You have to try to imagine how the branches grow from one to another one. And it is just okay if your paint, it should not look so dark. It should not look so very light. But yes, it is visible. And this is how it looks like. Can you see it? And then I'm going to try to make the thicker lines. So it looks like there are some thick branches through which the twigs are coming out. And there is no requirement for precision in making trees. But the thumb rule is the branches and twigs that go up, they get thinner. And the trunk is always going to bear the entire load of the tree. So it is obvious that the branches going down or maybe looking at the tree in the middle part is going to be medium size and then the thickest one. So keeping those things in mind, I'm trying to make the other 3 trees right here. I'm assuming this one has a thicker one like this. Let me know if you can see this properly. I'm basically working with the same brush. I am always beginning my first stroke from the trunk, trying to make it a little more thicker than before, and bringing another branch in the picture. So if you see, this is how it goes. Making a tree is so much fun for me. I love making trees. There is a variety of trees that I have practiced on. And when we are out for camping or any journey, my observations are always in nature. That always helps me do my work better. It makes more variety whenever I paint because nature provides us so much variety. So I guess this looks good to me. The first, then the second one. And when it goes up, it's gonna make more crisscross twigs and twists and turns. And it's becoming really dense here. So when you are making this type of tree, you start with a smaller brush. And then when you are going to make it here, you can go for a little bigger brush because it gives you a quick way of making the same things a little thicker as required in the reference picture. Sometimes while making a twig, I twist the brush. So it gives me a natural twist on a branch. I'll show you how. So when you try this, just remember one thing. You start with the bottom, you twist it and go in a different direction. Easy? It's fun. Look, I'm just twisting this. I'm spinning my brush like this and going into abrupt direction. It's not the straight line that I'm trying to do here. And that's why paintings is so much fun. There's no thumb rule, there's no limitation. Just do it the way you want. And this is so fun. The dry trees are so easy, super duper fun to do. It just takes a little more time. But Corona has given us so much time. So no worries.
Okay, hello, Shweta. I think Linda is telling brown are not making. Okay, the Samantha said the pink and brown are not making a dark purple for me.
No, it's going to make a dark purple for you. It's going to give you a different tone of brown. So,
and Linda said, I'm trying to catch up. That means she may be trying to, slowing, or maybe you have to wait for them to catch up with you, or I don't know. I'm trying to catch up. That's the thing. Okay.
okay, yeah. Okay, Linda, it's good to know that you're painting with us. So do not forget to show us your version. And don't worry about the color. The raw umber is just perfect. It will look good even whenever you use it. It blends with other colors or not, it just gives you a natural, good looking brown. So it's okay if you don't try mixing it with pink. And if you want, if you choose, you can always do that too. You can always make more shades on your palette. And the more variants you have, the more depth it is going to get. So I'm going to show you what shade it makes when I mix the brown with the processed magenta. So here is the pink and the brown. Let me take it to a whiter surface so you guys can see it easily. This is the double amount of brown, pink. I'm going to mix it. It hardly makes any difference here. You cannot see, but I can make it because, yeah, the distance and the digitization of everything, it doesn't provide you the exact detail view. So basically, this is the shade that you might achieve. Just, I don't know if you can see this. Is it visible? Okay, it's a very little difference, so don't worry. It's just fine. Whatever shade it comes. I'm just adding more twigs to this place and branches. So this adds more distance, volume to the landscape. And it looks like there are plenty of trees in the background and the distance So we have more scope to have a lot of fun here. And the more details you pour in, the more beautiful it's going to look, of course. So if you see the smaller trees as compared to these ones, it shows that they are in a distance, and the larger trees are a little bit near the foreground. So I'm just taking this as a reference where I want to start the left side trees and make them meet at one place. Make a curve. So here we go. I just tried on the left side, and all I see is delicate twigs here and branches. When my brush goes beyond one capacity, it draws thinner and lighter lines, which is what I require for this landscape. So always understand what your brush is giving, so you determine the direction of your brush accordingly. So I always start it from the bottom and then twist and turn and go up. So it gives me almost the branch in its natural look. And I love doing this with a 1 number brush or any number that you are comfortable with. The trees allow you to make mistakes and improvise them by adding more twigs on it. So if this one becomes thicker, you can always make it more tall, make more branches coming through it. So again, you make the reality and it looks more beautiful. So now the pink against the brown is giving a very beautiful, natural, scenic beauty to this. There are plenty of branches which I would be adding up once I am done with the workshop. I don't know, because I like to make more dense branches. So if you see, they look like a little bit more pinkish here as compared to this. If you want, you can try the pink, adding the pink here, because I'm loving the printout that has the pink twigs. I mean, it's a darker pink. It does have a little brown in it. When the reference pictures are with you and you dip into it, you find more and more fabulous details. So I am working on pink now and a very little bit of brown on it. So some of the twigs are getting pink, darker pink, the original pink, and the previous browns are also giving a little distance to this new shade here. I'm going a little faster because it needs a lot of twigs now. Basically, that place needs to be covered. Not completely, but yes, many of them. Now I'm going to try the center of this place. I'm assuming the trees are all over this behind, but I don't need to paint behind this one. I'm trying to save my time and my hard work. So working on the center tree, the same way, twist, start from bottom and end with thin lines. On the top, I'm also having a little pink on my palette. If you can see the pinks and browns, I did not mix them up. I'm taking pink when I want, and I'm taking brown as in when I want to create more branches. They look back and forth. The branches that are in distance are going to be lighter than the ones who are near the foreground. But it doesn't matter if you paint them whatever way you want. It is going to be the part of the background part of the main subject. So it doesn't matter really. And now I'm going to work on this tree because I can almost see the entire tree here. So I'm going to put a thicker line which shows like a thick branch coming out of that tree. As you can see in the reference, some of the thick lines, they provide a good volume to the thinner twigs and other lines here. Make sure it meets the thick trunk. Should not look like an air altogether. Okay. I think we are good enough to go ahead with this darker and lighter shades, the trees in foreground. I'm going to drop the road because I do not want to show any human involvement in this beautiful landscape. So I'm going to paint this as the snow surface all over. I'm going to omit this small little patch of road. Now, if you see the darker shades, and if you ask me to mix them up with something, I'm going to mix them up with the brown and the blue because it just gives me a perfect look. So I'm going to do the same way. I'm going to keep the blue and the brown aside. And when I'm going to do this, I'm going to show you a fun trick and you're going to absolutely love it. So I'm keeping this brush aside. I'm going to clean it and then dip it in water so it doesn't make my water look more muddy and cloudy. But yet the bristles are soft when I need it. So here is one trick that I would like to show you. Well, I have this brush, which is 1.5 inch, or this is approximately 1 inch, maybe. And it has cut here. If you don't have one, if you have a flat brush, even that is fine. It should work. But it is the best brush to make a pine tree. So this kind of brushes are available in market. I guess you can see this clearly. Yeah, maybe. Okay, so we are going to take one more shade of brown and blue. Again, I'm going to tell you the quantity is going to be like 4 green peas. Here we go, because this has good amount of work. So we are going to take it more. And then the blue. Okay, just give me a moment. Alrighty. So here we have brown and blue on our palette. I'm going to use the brush as on a horizontal line. So I'm going to dip this brush and then take a little blue on it. So I first dipped it in brown and then blue. Somewhere it looks like this, a little brown and blue here. So I'm going to start with this bottom here, and I'm going to just put a patch, just simple patches here and there. You don't do anything much. All you do is just patches. For the first, this tree. So when you're going upper side, what you do is you first start with the horizontal angle, like 90 degree. No, not 90, it's 180 degree, if I'm not wrong. And then you gradually twist it and bring it to 45 degree, both the sides like this. So the trick is, imagine this tree is real. You want to do it this way, 1, 2. When you're going up, this is, the trick is making it look like it's growing upwards. And then this side, of course, the mirror. First I'm taking brown and then blue, and I'm going to make the patches look like this. And then the top is going to be narrowing down because the tree has to look like a cone. It's a pine tree. So imagine a cone, pine cone, and the tree is the bigger form of the entire pine cone. So this is how it's going to look like when it's done. You want to go all the way in the branches that you created previously. So first and foremost, we do the darker part of the tree, and then when this one dries, we will work on the snow. So here I'm going to do the same things again, but this time be careful when you're making the top of the trees. Just make sure you are trying to stick to the shape. And it's just okay if you completely hide, but if you leave some area, it is going to look like the sky is visible through the distance, through the trees. So it is always important to understand that you leave little pink space here. You don't do a complete dark patch because that's not going to work. It's not going to look like it's a tree that is, or maybe it's gonna make unnecessarily too dark. You won't probably like it. So I like when I make trees, if the tree is dense, some of the sky area is left undone and absolutely gives it so natural look. So here we go. We have some more things to do here. I'm making the first tree. I'm trying to make the center a little more dense because the tree trunk would not allow to give us the sky, the hint of the sky. So it is okay to paint it opaque in the center, but the contour lines, the outer lines, they need to have a little bit of the previous shade that we have already used. Okay, so I'm going to make this brush make a little more thicker strokes. So I'm going to show you one for the next tree here. So you can exactly know what I'm doing with this one. So I'm going to put this brush and bring it a little down. Just one stroke and bring it a little down. One stroke and bring it a little down. So it basically gives a form of a tree that has a little windy, it is moving in a little windy atmosphere here. Just slight a little bit of, not too much, not too less, but just the way we like it. Sometimes the dry brushes, they work as an easy technique to make leaves. So when you see, I'm trying to make the wet and dense areas when I start using the brush, but I'm going on the upper side when my brush contains very less amount of paint and the bristles are little scattered here and there. So the dense areas, they take the thick strokes, and when you know that the brush has color, but it is very less, then the top area is going to be done. So I'm going to try it on the top so you can actually see what I'm trying to say here. If you see this, look how beautiful it looks. I'm just twisting and turning the brush direction. So it is giving me the dense and complete look of the tree here. Again, I'm going to pour in more paint. I will start with the bottom or the dense areas where I do not need this roughness, or maybe I need thicker, louder patches. And then when I know that there's less paint in my brush, I'm going for the outer branches, which give me a little stroke of the leaves right here. And then I paint it and I leave it. So it looks like we have this leaves moving a little bit here and there with the wind. So here we have, this technique is fabulous. You'll have so much fun painting with this one. And I'm going to try to make this, give this a thick trunk in the center, because I do not want the sky to look through my tree trunk. Again, I'm going to do it here also. So the center of the tree doesn't have any shade that we did for the sky. But the rest of the things, we do need it. We do need that shade. So here we go. It's a very beautiful technique. You would love, love, and love to enjoy this way. I'm trying to make the inner side more dense, yet I do have some pinks left here and there. So this is fun thing. And I wish if you are doing it with me, you are enjoying the same way I am right now. So the density in the center and the roughness on the outer side of the tree, leaving a few patches of pink here and there. Do not paint everything dark. Leave some of the places. Let the sky show up. As it is, it's very beautiful. The pinks and purples are magically looking beautiful here. Okay. For the bottom line, if you see, there are some patches. So you don't have to worry about the bottom. A perfect bottom is never required for a snowy landscape. So I'm going to make this real quick. And as you can see, I'm trying to cover the bottom because to me, it looks so dense and so interesting. Okay. I think I'm done with the two main trees here. It looks like there are more trees behind this. That's why it is looking so dense here. So if you see, I have some blue in some areas and brown in some areas. And that gives me a variety of strokes. It doesn't just monotize the entire painting. When we have the white patch, I mean, not the exact white, but the bluish gray on it, it's gonna give me a very dramatic effect of a 3D painting, a 3D tree, which can have a 360 surface. So important things to remember, always have a little variant in your colors, but you do not have to mix it so well that it just gives you one color everywhere. Because if you have more colors, it's gonna give you more dimensions. I hope this technique works for you. I learned this after making so many landscapes, but my learnings can be easily taken away in your brains. So you can have masterpieces in a quick go. You don't end up making so many experimental paintings, basically. Okay, so I think we are almost done with these two. And I'm going to work for these two in distance. This one is smaller than this, almost half the size. So painting is more of relativity. You can understand the sizes and you can scale it down as compared to the one thing painted already as compared to other, and then something else as compared to other elements around it. That is how I paint. I do not think I should draw with a pencil or charcoal on my canvas because these things are worth enjoying rather than expecting so much precision. So having a reference of one tree and comparing it with the another one gives me the exact idea where I have to start and stop. So I'm taking the same thing in my brush, but this time I'm going to be really careful that my brush doesn't make these huge patches because this is, of course, a big tree. As compared to that, this one is a smaller tree in distance. It may not be small, but it is in distance, so we have to make it look small. So it actually gives you an idea that if someone takes a walk, it actually the person who takes a walk reaches first to this one, then second, maybe third, and then fourth, and then so on. It gives a little illusion of a path. You know? So working on the third one, which is somewhere in here, I'm trying to make a trunk. So it gives me where I need to stop. And then I'm starting with the bottom strokes. I am trying to bring them on the upper side with my brush tilted in this direction. So the top is going to touch this angle right here. And then for the other side, I'm going to make the mirror direction and work on this surface. I'm trying to leave the line here. I mean, some patches for the background. And then the tree is done. It was easy, right? Okay, so working on the left side now. And then the smaller tree here. We are going to make this tree nearest one later. But I'm working on the other tree that you see in the distance here. And there is one more here. So I'm going to go and do the same technique real quick so you guys understand where I'm working on. Okay. I hope you're able to see and go ahead with your painting. I'm using the same technique and making the smaller tree. Taking brown first and then the blue. Okay. I guess this one is done. And now this one on the corner. Looks like there are 2 or 3 trees. So maybe I can start with here. And then go ahead, making more darker patches. Making pine trees is way easier than I thought. It's so much fun. I can make a number of trees like this. And I think this is it. I can stop here and make more, maybe here, as I can see here. I don't know if you guys are able to see my reference picture clearly as I can, but I see one more tree here. I have a little more space here, so I think I can add 2 more trees in a distance to show that there is this more option to go deep inside this area. So one tree comes here, maybe. Maybe a smaller one can accommodate here. So basically, I am making 2 more extra trees. I like trees. It's fun. Okay, I guess we are done with the tree. And now it's time for this one to come in the picture. This one has more snow on it and less leaves are visible. So yeah, no problem. We can do the dark shades here. I'm just trying to imitate where I can see the darker shades and just doing a rough work because the tree, it looks like it has some branches broken and fallen on the ground. And there is this little bit of here. Okay. And I guess that's it. And now it's time for us to use the white. As you see, it looks like it's an evening and the snow is not as white as it usually is, as you can see here. So I'm going to bring white to this blue and brown mixture. So I'm not going to wash this. I need this later on. Keeping it aside, bringing my brush, my knife. And I'm not going to need this paint anymore, so I'm not bothered if I mix them. It doesn't make difference if they are mixed in this white. So I'm trying to make this muddy, slightly bluish, brownish white. It's basically a gray color, which doesn't have to be so perfect. All it has to do is give you the snow effect on the trees. So as you can see, this is a shade of gray right here. So I mixed white, brown, and blue, as you can see. If you can see, you can make out the blue and brown patches in the white. It's not mixed so precisely. And I'm going to take this paint in my another brush, if you have. I have this 8 number Filbert brush, and I'm going to take this paint on my brush because this one has so many blue and browns in it, particles in it. Okay, and now I'm trying to dip it down in the gray color and working on the tree branches. Well, this does need a little time because these shades were a little thicker than the previous tone. We did not have room to blend them or make them thinner. So if you want, you can, of course, take a little bite, grab a little bite and have a little break of 5 minutes or so, come back to your painting and work on the snowy effect here. So I would like to take a break for 2 minutes and have you, if you have any confusion or questions regarding the steps we have gone through up till now. So can Uma please take us for a Q&A session for 2 to 3 minutes?
Okay. Let me see it. I did not see any chat, and let me ask them if they have any questions.
I hope my children don't ask me to make a Santa Claus in this.
I don't see any questions in the chat box, Shweta. I think they're all busy painting and they may be waiting, I think. So it should dry up to make snow now? Okay.
Because as you see, the shining surface is the paint that needs.
Okay, yeah, I could see them. I could see. It's a wonderful painting, and I know you are very talented.
Oh, I'm so.
Thank you.
Yeah, the shades are looking pretty well, and I really wonder how didn't I do this before? It just came to me, and I thought, okay, this is a good subject to paint with everyone. And
No, I'm not able to hear. We are not able to hear you. You need to come closer, I think. Yeah. Now it is. Okay.
I think there is some technical issue going on today.
Oh.
So let this dry. The trick that I use in my childhood like this.
Hello, Shweta. For some reason, I don't know, your audio is going low suddenly. I don't know.
Is it with everyone?
No, now it is okay. I am not able to.
Oh, let me know if it still continues.
Okay. Yeah, there is somebody on it. When you send a link to the recording, where can you provide the supply list, as I never received it? Okay, I will answer for this. Okay.
Is it okay if I go ahead? I mean, I
Yeah.
can go ahead and improve this painting later on if I find some of the patches are wet and they brought the previous stones in it. So that's okay for me. So I think I will go ahead with the sugar coating now. That's the most fun part. Believe me, you're gonna enjoy this painting a lot. It's all about technique and understanding the color medium you are using right now. Even the brushes, they play a big role in your paintings. So whenever you need, buy plenty of brushes, try to experiment with them because some brushes give you very easy strokes. Some of the sponges that are available in Michael's and Walmart and stuff like that. I'll show you one, which I have already. So I use this kind of sponge, which looks like a seaweed. If you can see this clearly, can you?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So these kind of materials, they help you provide, um, achieve good kind of surfaces, textures, or effects required as in your landscaping. So basically, landscape painting is very relaxing. You do not um, you do not have to look in so much into it, and of course, you can have your free strokes. That's the freedom you can take from this kind of subject. And I think we are ready with the paint. So as I told you, the muddy grayish stone that we made from white, blue, and brown is going to be very thick on my brush. As you can see, the brush is almost covered with the paint. It's a thick patch. And I'm going to start with the bottom first and then gradually go up because as you see, the bigger patches are in the bottom. As you go up, they become teeny tiny and they provide a little illusion of um, less surface to rest on. And where it gets more surface, it sticks the molecules of snow becoming ice and it stays there. Meanwhile, I mean, when this is getting dry, I'm going to work on this area, which I have made a little different than this one. As you see, the same shades are seen on the tree. As you see, this one is going to be in shadow of this tree. So the areas underneath the tree, they are getting a little blended. So I'm having rough strokes here and I'm starting to work on these areas. As you can see here. So this is basically blending my previous stone on my brush. As you can see, it's still on the brush. The brown is coming up and that is how I want it. And I'm going to blend it. So it gives me an illusion of a little shadow underneath the tree and slightly blended surface here and there. It's just a little shadow kind of effect. It gives me a beautiful illusion of the tree differing the snow surface, which is exposed to the sky as compared to underneath the tree. So bringing these things to understanding is important. This comes through observation. And when you practice this, it is fun to implement in your natural realistic paintings. Okay, so now that the tree in foreground doesn't have much of the darker patches, I can easily work on that one first. So as you can see here, I'm going to make Yeah, this one is not different. Okay. I'm going to make this white patch real thick, as you can see it. I'm also looking at the reference picture when I'm putting my strokes. And then I'm working on this bottom surface. It might look like the shade is getting worked on a tree, but there is a reason behind it. We want a little 3D effect here. So I'm deliberately using this muddy color here because I want it, I need it for this tree. And I guess I did enough for the first one. And then I'm just blending this here on my pinks and purples. As you can see, it's a very little difference, but it does make a lot of difference when you see at the picture, when you look at the picture. When you're making realistic paintings, you have to stick to the image. You try to do exactly what you see in the photograph, although even if sometimes you don't like it. But that adds a lot of sense when the painting is done, and it gives you the different dimensions. The elements actually come to life. So I'm trying to do this for a little more depth. So I'm putting this brush strokes and trying to bring this darker shade of snow on the tree for now. And later on, I'm going to put a little more lighter shade over these patches. So then it gives me a rounded surface. That is the basic idea of doing this. I think some of the trees are dry now, so I'm going to put a lot of paint on my brush, and I'm going to just work on the leaves. I'm trying to leave some dark areas, and I'm going to work only on some of the branches where I want to show that those are coming out of the tree. Inside of the tree branches are getting omitted. So just a few strokes, don't overdo, and if you do it, no worries, because you still have this shade on your palette, and you have the paint on this brush as well. I do not like to put my brush and wash it again and again, because I rework on some surfaces where I look that I have overworked on some patch which I never wanted. And acrylic paints have the thickness and the quick drying technique that allows you to make multiple layers and improve on your mistakes for some areas that you missed it or you did not like the way later on it is. So trying to do the outer branches, and they are covered with snow, and some of the areas in the center, because the branches are not on just left and right. They are also in front and back. Back we cannot see, of course, but the front, they are also going to give you a look of the entire snow-covered tree. So have your observations. This is quite tricky, but again, it's not hard to do. It's fun to do. So the sides are going to be really thick, but the center is going to be slightly dramatic. It's going to be less than the sides. As I told you, the reason behind it. So the first center tree is almost done. I'm leaving the bottom lines as it is because it looks like the branches have gone and fallen the snow. So this is going to stay a little dark. As you can see in the reference picture also. If you see this tree, this doesn't have much of snow in where the tree is touching the ground or nearing the ground. So that's the trick. Okay, I'm starting with the bigger tree now, so you can have a more easy version of understanding how it goes and looks like. I have so much paint on my brush, but a lot of control on my strokes. For practice, you can begin with the bottom, not bottom actually, a little upper than this, and then go ahead for the smaller strokes. That is the way you can correct your strokes also. Maybe in the beginning, you might have to rework. I'm taking more paint in my brush, so it looks a little more fluffy area, a thick snow, which has found a good space to stay on the tree. And this is so much fun. This is so easy. Okay. If you feel that the same strokes are going all over, you can always add more paint. And while taking paint, you can press this a little hard. So the bristles change their position and they will give you a little different texture than the previous. But this texture is so beautiful. It looks good. Okay, so this tree is like, okay, almost there. And now I'll work on this tree because I did this tree first because it's behind the first one. So when I'm working on this tree, later on when I work on this one, it is going to make patches and it is going to look confused one. But this one is on the front side, so this comes last. Whatever comes first, near to us, comes last. That is the another technique of making a correct way of realistic painting. So sticking to those rules, I mean, of course, paintings do not have rules, but this makes sense, huh? I'll finish this painting first and then go to the leftmost tree. Okay, so now this one being a little in the foreground, I want to add a little white in it because I want a little different shade than that one in the distance. So the trick is the things near to us have more clarity as compared to the things in background. So I'm adding a little white, just a little bit. As you can see here, and I'm not going to blend it. I'm going to take a little bit on my brush and work on this one. Apparently it doesn't look like it's so different because we have gray on it, but when it dries up, you will see how dramatic it looks. And when you are coming down, you don't have to add white. You just have to stick to what it is because the light that touches the upper part is more than the light that touches the lower part. It is kind of hidden between other branches which come on the top. So the basic idea is keep the top lighter, brighter, and the bottoms little dull, little shadowy, and that makes a whole lot of difference when you look at the things. Okay, so these ones are done. And now with the white, I'm going to work on this guy, the one that is here, because only these two will be treated with a lighter tone. Rest of them will be darker, darker, and even more darker. So working on this one, the first one, working on its center, leaving some of the grays as it is, because anyway, it has become like a snowman. It is so covered. Okay, so leaving some top parts white and keeping others as that previous gray that we had. I'm smoothing this down because as it is, if you see, this tree has so much snow in it, and we just want to show that the lighter part is on the surface, which is more embossed. By understanding the ground rules of lights and dark and medium tones, you actually can show things embossed or etched inside or depressed. So that is how the entire painting technique works. When the things are light, we assume they are on an embossed surface, like the forehead, maybe nose, the lips. So that is how we also do the portraits. These are some techniques. We can work with the same shade, little lighter, little darker, and then it gives the entire skin. And then I'm going to work on some parts of the gray that we did on this. Okay, I think I'm going to do the white a little bit on this tree, on the topmost areas. Just a few strokes. Just a little bit, not too much. Just some spots. Because the light is hitting it, so why not? It's gonna look bright, of course. And that's all. So now we are going to work on these remaining trees. I'm going to wipe this off on the surface because I don't want that shade to look really bright. I'm going to dip this into a little blue. The gray is a little blue and brownish now to make a little darker shade of that same gray. And I'm also putting some pink in it for the trees, which you can see in the distance. If you see, there is a little difference between this and those. The normal eye would not be able to differentiate it, but yes, it is there. And when you make it, it's gonna give you an illusion of distance. So here we go. We work on the other trees like this, like the way we did on first one. And the sugar coating is making a fabulous, fabulous effect on these trees. They look so real now as compared to before. And I guess it's time for a little pink in the picture. You might want to add a little pink when the snow is hitting the top. And now I'm working on these. Not much of work is left now. Okay, I'm going to do this overdone with this shade. So I can show you how to improvise. If in case you work so much on some areas and it looks like you want to make it the other way around. You made a mistake and you want to improve it. So we still have a little scope to do the way we wanted. So I'm deliberately overdoing this tree. Like I painted almost everything. Look, there's a tree. It's just snow all around, right? Well, one thing to tell. Okay, I'm also doing the rest of the trees now. So here we go. We can hardly make out which tree is what, right? It's like all patches all around. And we don't know what we are going to do with this. Oh my gosh. Oh, why doing my trees? And now I don't like my painting. No, hold on. Okay, so I guess I'm done with this work. I think some of the shades can work on this patches. Okay, I can just blend this. Some of the shadows are really dark and you don't want it that dark. So just making it blend with this one a little bit. Okay, here we go. I'm just trying to finish the paint that I have left on my brush, keeping the shadows a little bit more blend with the pinks and purple snow that we did previously. As I told you, giving more depth and surfaces, you always have to be ready with a little experimental way of doing it. So as you can see, I am going to try to make this look more gray, and this one needs to be less purple and more bluish. So working on this, leaving some of the sky colors on the surface. I guess this looks good to me. And now it's time for us to make the detail work here. So I don't need the brush anymore. And I definitely am going to need the brush that we kept aside. So again, coming back to the brown and the blue. But this time, make sure you make smaller strokes than before because you want to keep the snow surface look good here. So here, the important and most needed things. You work with a few strokes and you try to bring it back to reality, keeping those reference pictures. You know where to put, you know where to leave. And this is how you can improvise if in case you made a mistake and you were not happy with it. So I'm trying to bring those dark strokes back on my painting, leaving the whites where needed. Okay. And this looks good. It looks like, now I like it. This is how I expect it. Okay. Looks nice to me. And then maybe I can make a branch. Look good. Alrighty. So I think we are almost done with this. Just have a little more look. If you see, these are a little more dense areas. And if you would like to work on this, I'm going to mix the brown and the pink here, which I had previously. And I'm going to take a little gray and mix it up. And now this one is fun too. I'm going to make my brush dry, a little bit less color. If you feel that this has so much color on it, you can always trust on your kitchen towels and just wipe it off. The extra paint will come off and some paint will stay in your brush. So this is usually known as a dry brush technique. And we do not touch the trees that we have done, but we try to make these look more dense with some strokes like this. So this gives a little more dense and dry area here, as you can see in the main picture. And this fills up the emptiness of the skies, of the backgrounds. And this actually makes the trees pop out more easily as compared to before. So you do not need to paint so many branches and such detail in the distance. This is going to give an illusion of dense forest, which is behind these trees. This adds so much dramatic volume to these areas. So it's up to you. If you like it the way it was before, you're fine. But I want to put some more density and I like it this way. So I'm trying to make those twigs come out of the tree density. And I want to hide this overlooking sky in some areas. So the dry brush technique, and That gives a complete look to this landscape, and we are almost done. If you see, this is making such a nice illusion of many trees behind these trees. I guess this looks nice. Make sure that when you're working on these areas, you won't be able to paint the sky once again. So make it sure you take real dry brush, and when you're making strokes, they go in the directions, different directions of the twigs that you have already done. So the twigs that you have already done will work like a guiding line to you. And I guess it's time for you to do your signature on it. So we usually try to write our names on the right hand side of the corner, but you're free to do wherever you want. I hope you all enjoyed this tutorial, and I would love to see your versions, your masterpieces. Please send it to Uma or directly to me. I would love to see that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shweta. This is a perfect painting for today's weather in Michigan. Don't you think so?
Yes,
How
definitely.
about you all? Everybody can think like that. Today it is snowing and it's a perfect winter skies painting for this weather. And really, we all enjoyed it and excellent painting. And also, we got an excellent comment from Annette, excellent instructor. Hope to see more from her in the future. So, that is excellent, and we really liked it, and we all enjoyed it. And thank you very much. Thank you all for attending this workshop. I hope you all enjoyed it. Stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Shweta, if you can just one.
Sure.
Stay. Welcome to our today's acrylic painting workshop for adults. Today you will be learning how to paint winter skies. Shewta Shah has worked with Michael Stores as an art instructor for 3 years. She recently graduated from our very own the Detroit Institute of Arts and will be an active member of the institution as a museum docent. Also works with TPL as volunteer. She is a wall mural artist. You may have a quick look at her works on her business website. I will be sending you through chat box. And thank you very much for attending this program, and welcome you all for this acrylic painting workshop. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Today we are planning to paint the winter skies with pinks and purples. It's a snow-covered landscape, and I hope you will enjoy as much as I would. And if some of you can paint with me, I will make this complex-looking landscape real easy. So let's paint it layer by layer and enjoy